We're going to be replacing the bushings in the rear end of the Sportsman 400 today. As you can see by the play and the A-arms, they're well wore. We'll start by removing the rear wheel. Here's the kit we purchased off eBay. It looks like it has everything in it to do the job, including the bushings for the sway bar. Kind of hard to see, but the only issue I can see so far is this bolt here. I'm going to have a hard time getting that out because the axle here is going to be in the way. I may end up having to take these mounting bolts out up here instead to pull the A-arm off. When we get that far we'll find out, but that's what it looks like we'll have to do. We're going to start with the lower control arm first. Well, you're able to see how easy that came apart. So the next thing we're going to remove is the lower shock mount bolt. Probably have to tap this out. I'll leave the nut on so we don't damage the threads. Now a couple more bolts and this will be out. Now this here we can't get the impact on, so we'll have to do it by hand. Okay, last bolt for the lower control arm. Okay, so that's out. So remove the sway bar link next here. Most of these bolts that are coming out are fairly rusty. Haven't been apart in a long time. Now this should just slide off. So the next bolt to come off will be, I guess, what we'll call the outer upper control arm bolt. This is going to slide out without the hammer. Now there's two more upper control arm bolts to take off. Uh-oh, that's going to hit the axle too, so boy, both sides are going to hit. It might be easier just to remove the axle than try to take everything else apart here. So I guess that's where we go next. Take the axle out. Now to do that, you just work it like a slide hammer. You pull it back and forth until that snap ring lets go. Give that a shot, see how it works. Well, we got the axle out. There's many videos on YouTube showing how to do that. It was tough to get this one out. There's lots of dirt and crud in there. You can see it. But just work with it for a little while. That snap ring will let go finally. We're going to clean that up real good. Put a little grease in there before we put everything back together. With the axle out of the way, we'll be able to get the rest of the bolts out to get this upper control arm off. Just about every one of these bolts fought us. A lot of rust on them. But we got them all out with a little force with a hammer and a little bit of persuasion. It should just slide out now. There we go. We'll take this over to the workbench and pull out all the bushings there. Now we'll see what it takes to get these out. Should just pull out these bushings. Whoop. A little brittle. I'm going to try a punch here. There we go. Okay, they all came right out. Clean them up. Everything's so dirty and rusty on this. We'll take the new ones, put a little bit of grease on them first just to hopefully let them slide in just a little easier. There, that's all it takes. And the spacer that goes in there should just slide right in. There, that one's done. We'll move to this side. Now we got a steel shaft that runs through that. We'll push that out of the way. Go, got that out. Try the channel locks first, I guess. See if I can't just pull them out. Oh, it's coming. There we go. So we'll just clean this up a little bit. Some of the junk out of there. Some of the old grease out. So on these spacers here, there's one end that's chamfered. The chamfered end goes against the plastic bushing here. So they have the flat end that goes up against the control arm. Once you get them started a little, they do slide right in. All the bushings are in the lower A-arm. Just have to put the shaft back in. Should slide. Yep, slides right through. So we're done with this, and we'll start with the upper one next. We got the upper A-arm in the vise. These are the bushings that were extremely worn. We'll see how they come apart. Should just slide apart, I guess. Ooh. Yeah, the plastic's just crumbling here. All right. Yeah, not much left of that. Yeah, it's totally wore, broken. Slide a rag through that and clean it up. That looks pretty good. Again, we'll get the new bushings ready. You don't need grease on these. I'm just putting a little bit on to make it a little easier to install. Just enough grease to make it slide in a bit. Okay, now we'll clean up the shaft here. Again, like everything on this, has been a little rusty. I think I'll take that over to the wire wheel for a second. So that's cleaned up a bit. Slide that back in. There we go. I'll just do the same on the other side here and we'll be done with this. So that looks a lot better than what we started with. I guess if your CV joints are clicking, that would be a good time to look after that too, why everything's apart. These seem to be in good shape, so we won't be doing that today. These are coming out nice. The wear on these ones isn't too bad, not compared to the others. Now these didn't have those spacers on them. We'll just slide the new bushings in. Clean up the shaft again. Yeah, this one again is pretty rusty. So I'll take that over again to the wire wheel, clean it up. So we got that cleaned up on their wire wheel. Just reinstall it. Get it centered and we're done. So you just hit this with a hammer, slide the shaft in there, and then that should come right out. Should. Need an extension on here. Ta-da! There we are. Okay, so we just pulled that shaft out of the other side, and it's full of rust and dirt like everything else. Now the bushing for the sway bar had a washer on it. Now new washers didn't come, or new spacers didn't come with the kit, so I'm reusing the old ones. Again, these should just slide in. Okay. We'll slide in the sway bar. And again, we got the holes pointing up where we need them. Hey, that noise was the other side one falling out. So I'll have to go push that back in. So I'm going to pull the axle out of the other side now. See if I can't get it on video this time. If it's as tough as the other side, it's not going to be fun. Put your foot up against the ATV to hold it in place and line it up and give it a couple good whacks. Oh, here we go. Got it. We're ready to start our reassembly. We're going to start with the lower A-arm. I have put a little Loctite on the bolts that hold it in. A much tighter fit than taking the old wore out ones apart. You can hear the shaft spinning inside, so I'll have to put the other bolt on. Okay, that's good and tight. Next, we're going to put on the upper A-arm, and we'll slide the sway bar link on first. And again, we've used some blue Loctite on these. They are lock nuts, but they're not new, so a little Loctite doesn't hurt. There we go. Okay, that's in. A little more Loctite on the bolts for the lower control arm, the outer. When you're putting in these sleeves down here, make sure you push them in all the way and that they bottom out. It needs to be flush. There we go, like that. And again, another bolt with some Loctite. Next will be the lower shock bolt. Might need a tap to get that in. We're getting close to being done here. Just a few more bolts. Need to tighten up the sway bar next. This will be the last bolt for this side. Again, we put a little blue Loctite on. The next thing for us to do is go through and hit all the grease fittings. So all that's left now is to put the wheel back on. This has been a fairly easy job. The only difficult part was getting those axles out. Well, hope you learned a little something. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.